The Cost of Discipleship. This was a famous book written by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a German theologian. And he said there is no such thing as cheap grace. And what he's referring to is the passage in the scripture where Jesus says, if you are going to be my disciple, you must pick up your cross, carry it, and follow me. And when that command was given to follow Jesus, that meant not just here in little things, but to the very end. And what was the end of Jesus' mission? What was the end of Jesus' journey? It was to the hill, to the top of Mount Calvary, where he ended up sacrificing his life. Our journey through life is not going to be easy, and Jesus never said it would. He came for a purpose, and his purpose was for one reason, to save us. And the only way he could save us was to die on that cross. And if we think that we can get out of life without any kind of suffering, without any kind of pain, then we're in delusion, and we're not really living a reality. If we're going to make our suffering worthwhile, then we have to offer it up. We just can't waste it. You know, when you're in pain, whether it's physical, mental, psychological, or whatever way, accept it. Because, you know, that's part of life. But you don't have to sit there and stew and cry in your soup because, poor little me, I'm suffering. No, use it, take it, turn it around. Use it for redemption. You have just as much power to redeem, in a sense, as Jesus did. Jesus justified us by giving us the right back to heaven by dying on the cross. He saved us. But, you know, in some ways we have to redeem ourselves because we're all broken individuals. We're all victims of original sin. And because of that, we have to pay a price. And the price in life, of course, is suffering. None of us likes to suffer. All of us like to have a good time. We live in a world that's hedonistic, selfish. It wants to do everything that it wants it to do, not necessarily what the will of God is. And when God asks us to suffer, he's not being mean. He's just being just. He's asking us to do our part to save ourselves. He did his part. He sent his son, and his son had to die for you and for me. So should we expect less? So how do you make your suffering worthwhile? Well, first of all, you put it on the altar of your life, and you surrender it to the God who loves you. Yes, he does love you, and he will take care of you, no matter how you suffer. All he asks is you return that suffering to him in gratitude for the gift that he gave to his son, to us, which is our redemption. And so, discipleship is being offered to us to follow Jesus, to follow him no matter where he goes. But we have to let him lead us. Remember, he is our good shepherd, and we are his sheep. And hopefully, we're not the sheep that runs away and gets lost. We're here because he loves us here, and we have to return that love to him. And sometimes love costs. Love is not cheap. Discipleship is not cheap. The crucifixion was the ultimate price for you and for me. And Jesus did that willingly and freely because he knew that was the will of his Father. Could his Father have chosen another way? Sure. He could have just snapped his finger and said, okay, everything's okay, everybody's going to come into heaven. But he didn't do that. He chose the most horrific way that anybody could die. And why? Well, in some ways it's a mystery, but it's also a message to us that there is no suffering, no matter what you go through, that will compare to the suffering that Jesus went through. And he did it to save us. And he's inviting you to be his disciple. He's inviting you to follow him, because he is the way and the truth and the life. And he is the way which we will get to heaven. So when you're confronted with suffering, when things in your life aren't going well, when things in your life seem to be out of control, put it in the hands of God. Offer it up. Offer it up for those who are suffering in the world from cancer, or from the victims of war, or for the homeless, or for the people who are addicted on the streets with drugs. And we're all part of the fabric of time and space. We're all connected by the mystical body. There's not a single person out there that's suffering that isn't connected to you. And that suffering is part of us. It's part of our reality. And we need to use that suffering to a greater purpose. So, offer your suffering. Know that it will come with great grace. And know that you have a place in helping others to get to eternity by offering up your suffering. So, accept the invitation of Jesus to be his disciple, to carry his cross, and know at the end, heaven is waiting for you.